Hello everybody, Steven here with Cardboard Coalition, and today I figured I'd bring you a how to play of Dice Throne. Now I know the game's been out for a while. They've gone through Season 1, Season 2 with Season 1 reroll, and Marvel, but the Christmas one had recently come out. I had just gotten this Kickstarter in. So this is the Santa vs. Krampus, and in any of these boxes, it's set up for a 1v1, so for a two-player game. This is from Roxley Games. It plays up to 6 players. Let's see if it says anywhere in the box. There we go. So 2 to 6 players, 30 minutes, and it's for ages 8+. They do tell you 6 players is for more of a veteran play. And they have variants for 4 players and 3 players. But as I said, once you get one of these boxes like this, if you go out and you can buy, there's different combinations or different sets. It's for 2 players. So we have it set up right now for a 2-player. So let's go ahead and jump into how you set up the game, and then we'll jump in how you play the game. First, you put out the player boards. So we have our player boards. Then you go ahead and you put out the, or they call them the hero boards. Then you put out the hero leaflets, which these are 2-sided, kind of gives you, I'll move this one around a little bit, gives you some information on the back, rules clarification, the level of the character, a bio. There's just some fun things to read here. Components, what you should have with that character. Now this side, so you put out the leaflet, and you put out this side, which shows your tokens and stuff. You go ahead and grab the tokens that correspond. And these games, see if I can grab one of them for you really quick. These games come with trays with everything already set up. So everything's, if you've already put it together, you have it all. But you put out the leaflet, go down, put out the tokens. Here's just a tray to show you guys really quick. There's some extra stuff in here because you have extra tokens in case you're playing with more people and all that. But anyways, so here we go. Leaflets, then you get out the tokens. And the next thing you do is you go ahead and you get out a health dial for each character. You put the health at 50. Then you go ahead and put out the combat point dial, and you put each character's combat dial at 2. I mean, everyone could do this for themselves. They could set up their own boards. Right, so once you got that, you go ahead and get your deck. You shuffle it up. So your deck for your heroes, and these are sleeved. They have a different backing, but these are sleeved. So there's the deck. You shuffle up the deck. You go ahead and draw 4 cards. And then you put out the dice for each character, or put out your dice for your character. And then you go ahead and you do any additional steps. Now the Krampus, on this card, it tells you how the tokens work. It tells you how some of your special things work, which we'll talk about here in a second, because the Krampus has the rejects. But the last thing you do is you look to see if you have any special setup. Santa Claus has no special setup. But the Krampus, and it's circled in yellow, they do all this color coding stuff, which is really nice. And it tells you to go ahead and shuffle the reject deck, is its own deck, and flip over 1 card. So it looks like I have Wormy to play with. All right. Once that's done, you're ready to go. The one thing it doesn't say in the rules, but you obviously do, is you have this turn order card, and it explains some timing on the back. So you have this reference card. So I say go ahead and put that out, especially when you're first learning. All right, now that we have everything set up, we can go ahead and jump into how you play the game. It looks complicated, trust me. When I looked at this, I was thinking about Resvon and how much she's gonna have to read with reading English, not her first language to read. I was thinking, is she gonna have fun with this or not? But it's not that much, so just bear with me. All right, let's go ahead and jump through how you play the game. All right, so the first thing you do, and we have a list right here, the first thing you do is what's called the upkeep phase. I want to call it prep phase, the upkeep phase. You would check to see if you have any status tokens on your character. And your status tokens you would put on the board right here. Some go to other people, some are for you. See, Santa Claus has eggnog and cheer, and Krampus has coal and the gifts. So on your first round, no one's probably going to have any status. But the first thing you do on your turn order is you check for status. After that is called the income phase. Now, in the income phase, you give yourself 1 card. You would draw 1 card, and you give yourself 1 combat point. Now, the first round, first player, first round does not do this. So if Krampus was the first player, this is the first round we're going through. Krampus would not be able to draw a card or give himself a combat point. But then anytime after that, when it's his turn, the beginning of his turn, he can do that, or, well, phase 2. Now, the next thing we do is we go ahead and we go into the main phase. And this can get a little confusing, but hang in there with me because there's 2 main phases. So, during the main phase, there are some things that you can do. During the main phase, and it tells you right here on the card all the things you can do. So you could play ability upgrades, you can play main phase action cards, and you can sell cards for 1 combat point. All right, so at this point, let's just take a second and look at the cards. So here is your hero upgrade cards. Now, what this shows you, and so if you see we have SWAT down here, this is SWAT 2. But what this card shows you is how many combat points it takes to upgrade it, what phase you can play that card in, so main phase, and remember there's 2 main phases, but we'll get into that. And then it also has underneath, I already said that, how many points it takes, when you can play it, and this tells you what it is. This is an upgrade card, right? Then we have some other cards that are in here. Let's go ahead and just look at this one. So this one could be played during a main phase. It takes 2 combat points, and it's an action. So you have hero upgrade cards and you have action cards. They're the 2 types of cards you have. Now, we have this card we'll go over right now. This is an instant, denoted by the exclamation in the red. You also have the red border. You notice you have upgrade. This kind of has the white border. You have the blue border to show you it's a main action. And then you have the orange border, but we'll get into that. All right, so an instant card can be played at any time, just any time during the game, right? So certain cards can be played at certain times. So this card can be played at any time. It can be played during a main phase. It can be played during a dice phase. It can be played at any time. It can be played during another player's turn. You can throw this card out. Now, once you've done everything you want to do here, playing any action cards, playing any upgrade cards, and of course playing any instant cards, right? Then you go to what the next phase is. Now, the next phase is the dice rolling phase. There's a name for it. I just call it the dice rolling phase because there's different phases. We'll just get this card back up again. So you have your roll phase. We can just call it the roll phase. But you have offensive rolling, target rolling, and then defensive rolling. Now, how that works is offensive rolling is you're rolling your dice, right, to try to get combos, and it's called Yahtzee style, right? You're trying to get combos that are set up here. Now, your player board has different things. You have different kind of attacks. So you have your offensive abilities, right? So he has a ton of offensive abilities, right? Then you also have an ultimate ability down here, right? Some players have what's called a passive ability where it won't show any dice, and it means that that ability happens all the time. These ones actually are dice, but they're straights. There's a small straight and a large straight. And then you also have a defensive ability. So we're going through the offensive roll phase. So you're rolling, you're trying to get one of these abilities. Under here, it tells you how the ability works, what you do with that ability. You guys can look in the rule book. It's pretty short to see what it means when it says or and all those kind of things, but this is the explanation, right? So what you're doing is you're trying to set certain things up during this phase. And you're trying to get an attack in. So let's say we have, for Rotter, we have 2 of the, I don't remember the name, but the twigs to like smack the kids. We also have one of the bells, right? So we can put that there. Then we go ahead and roll these again. And look at that. We got another bell. So we're ready to go. If we hadn't, let's say we didn't get a bell, we got something like this. We can roll again, right? And then we don't get it. There's our third roll. We can't. But if we had gotten the bell, then we're ready to go. So that's the offensive rolling phase. Now, the next phase is the targeting phase. In targeting phase, you only use if you have more than 2 players, but this is set up as a 2-player game. Then the last thing is, so he rolls all of his dice, he's going to target Santa Claus. Then there's the defensive roll phase. And this is the defensive ability down here. All right. And it'll tell you, this one says roll 3 of a kind, roll 3 dice, sorry. And then depending on what you get, these are the things you can do. Old Saint Nick has roll 4 dice. So if he was being attacked, he could take his 4 dice, roll them, and do what he can with that. When you're rolling for a defensive ability, you don't get to do the Yahtzee thing. You get 1 roll. All right. So during this phase, you can also play cards. Remember, there was 1 extra card in there. So we have these cards that have the orange border. Also has the die right there. It shows you the orange star that lets you know it's during roll phase, and it tells you your combat points that you want to use. So during this phase, or any phase, if you're going to use one of these, you take the points away from your combat points right here, your combat dial. Right? Now you can never have more than 15 combat points, right? You obviously don't go below 0. So during this phase, you can play one of these cards because it's a roll phase card to play. All right, so let's just say we've gone through all that. We've gone through the roll phase. Now there's another main phase again, and remember during the main phase, and it reminds you right here on the card, you can play ability upgrades. You can play phase action cards, but remember you have to be able to pay for them, right? So to play them, you take them from your hand and you play them. Upgrade abilities obviously would go out over the upgrade, and any that you use would be discarded. You make yourself a discard pile. So you go ahead and do that main phase again. Once you've done the main phase for the second time, if you have more than 6 cards in your hand, you have to downgrade. So you discard to 6 cards. But the thing is, it's kind of cool, is when you get rid of a card, you're selling it. So you just give yourself more points. So let's say I had, let's just stack this. Let's grab a whole bunch of cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I had 9 cards. I can only have 6 cards in my hand by the end of my turn. I would take the 3 cards. I would throw them in my discard, say, hey, these are the ones I want to sell. These are the ones I'm going to keep. And I would get 3 points for that, right? So that would put me up to 5 combat points. And then it would go to the next player, and then they go through all the phases. They go through the upkeep, then they go through income, the first main phase, the roll phases, which there's 3 of them. Then they would go into the second main phase. Then they would discard cards from their hand, selling them for points. And you keep doing that until a hero gets down to 0 on their health dial. Now, if your health, you can go up to 10 points higher than what your health is. So these heroes can go up to 60 points. They're at 50 right now as they're starting. They can go up 10 points. There's ways to heal and things like that. And that is it. The one thing I realized as I was talking, I didn't tell you guys, to figure out who's first player, right, is you roll the dice. It's pretty simple. There's numbers on the dice. Krampus got a 1. Santa got a 1. That's a re-roll. Right, so whoever has the highest number. Santa got a 1, Krampus got a 5. Krampus would be the first player. And the numbers are also there, like I said, because there's the small straight and the large straight. If you don't know, a small straight is 4 numbers in a row. A large straight is 5 numbers in a row, right? And that's why there's numbers on the die too. But all said and done, you punch each other in the face using your dice and your cards and all your extra abilities until someone's down to 0. Whoever's down to 0 wins. If because of abilities both people or all people at the table all drop down to 0 at the same time, it's considered a tied or a draw in the game, right? A draw in the battle. So that is how you play Dice Throne, and this is specifically the Santa Claus Krampus, though I really didn't get into any of their specifics. That's going to be joy for you guys to read. This is a Roxley game. Like I said, it's for 2 to 6 players. This is obviously a box that only accommodates 2. They say 6 is for the people who want the hardcore challenge. It's a 30-minute game, and it's for ages 8+. I'm Steven with Cardboard Coalition. And I guess I should say, because I never do this, if you like it, subscribe, comment. I try to get back to the comments as quick as possible. Right? Like, subscribe, comment, do all that fun YouTube thing. Let's see if we can get this channel up and going. But beyond that, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.